Rocks tell the story of the Earth. They tell you how they were born. Hello. I was born under the deserts of Arizona 8 million years ago.
Whoa.
Rocks don't actually talk, not in words anyway, but they do tell a story. They tell a story that geologists, scientists who study rocks understand. A story that goes back more than 4 billion years.
Back when the Earth was young?
Back when the Earth was born?
Just about. And we're going to learn about rocks and the story they tell. So get ready.
It's science time.
How does it work?
Can I eat it?
What's that smell?
Will it explode? Ooh, can I touch it?
Science is like that. The more you learn, the more questions you have.
It's science time.
Hey, I found my old rock collection. Some of these are from my trip out west.
That's quite a collection. Do you know what they're called?
Well, this one's pyrite and this one's granite.
Did you buy this at a store? There's still a sticker on it.
I don't think that really matters. I mean, you could know the names of many rocks and actually know nothing about them at all. What's in a name? That which we call a rose by any other name would smell as sweet.
Huh?
Shakespeare. But never mind that. The point is that names of rocks do become important for scientists, but we're more interested in the story that a rock has to tell.
Huh?
Well, rocks don't actually talk, but they do tell a story of how the Earth was formed, a story going way back in history.
Do you know what this rock is saying?
Oh, goodness, no. I'm not a geologist. A geologist is a scientist who studies rocks. But it doesn't mean that I can't be very interested in them, and it doesn't mean that I can't learn a whole lot about them.
I love photography, and I know a lot about it, even though it's not my job. And I'm even pretty good at it. But it's not my occupation. It's not my job. It's a hobby. And just like science, you don't have to be a scientist to enjoy science and to even learn a lot about it.
Do either of you know the difference between a rock and a mineral?
Well, a rock is a compilation of different minerals.
That's right. Now here on the table, I have 4 specimens. One of them is a rock, and 3 of them are minerals, and that rock is made from the other 3 minerals. Can you figure out which one of those 4 is the rock?
How did these get here?
For 10 points in the game, which one is the rock?
Ooh. Ooh,
Dang it!
this is the rock. It's made up of all these 3 minerals.
That is correct. Excellent work.
I knew that. This one's granite, this one's biotite, this one's quartz, and this one's feldspar, and all 3 of these are in this one.
That is correct. But do you know the 3 different types of rocks?
Igneous, sedimentary, and metamorphic. I remember their names, but I don't remember what they mean.
Well, let me give you a hint. Igneous is the Latin word for fire.
Oh, so rocks that come from like cooled lava and magma.
That's exactly right. The next type of rock is...
Those are sedimentary rocks, and they're formed when you have little tiny particles and they all settle together and stick. And then they form in layers.
That's exactly right. And I can give you a hint about metamorphic. The word metamorphosize means to change form.
Oh, that means that from heat and pressure in the earth, the rock changes from one state to another.
That's exactly right. Now, what I'm going to show you now are 2 igneous rocks. Now, I want you to take a look at these rocks and, like a scientist, characterize them. Tell me something about them.
Well, they're very different.
Okay, they are very different.
This one has big crystals.
And this one has really, really little crystals, and it feels like sandpaper.
Yeah.
Would you believe that these 2 come from exactly the same melted rock?
Really?
Oh.
They do. And that's how a rock tells the story about how it was born. You see, granite is magma that cools and hardens deep underground, where it has a blanket of dirt on top of it. Now, if you have a blanket on you, doesn't that keep you warm?
Yeah.
Well, same with the granite. As it's cooling, it's kept warm, so it cools off only very slowly. It cools so slowly, it has time to grow big crystals. But if that very same lava comes to the surface and cools quickly, it cools so fast it doesn't have time to grow big crystals.
So it has little ones.
Little tiny crystals, exactly. And you said it felt like sandpaper, and that's a good description. If it cools deep underground, it becomes granite. And if it cools on the surface quickly, it becomes rhyolite.
Magma, molten rock located underground.
Lava, molten rock located on the surface.
Mineral, a natural crystalline solid with atoms arranged in a certain way.
Rock, a solid mixture of one or more minerals.
Igneous rocks, rocks that form when mixed up melted minerals cool and harden.
Sedimentary rocks, rocks that form when loose particles of rocks or shells are stuck together.
Metamorphic rocks, rocks that have been changed by heat or squeezing.
Hey Josh, my geology teacher is really upset.
Why?
All the students take him for granite.
That's just terrible, James.
My sediments exactly.
If you want to see really, really big rocks, I mean really big ones, check out Columcille Park in Bangor, Pennsylvania. The rocks here are so big, they're called megaliths. That means giant standing stones. There are almost 100 of them here.
Last year we had over 7,000 visitors from around the world.
Bill Coy, the park's creator, handpicked each of these giant standing stones. They used trucks and cranes to move them and set them into place. Some of the rocks are granite, like these stones near the pond, but most of them came from just 3 miles away.
3 miles down the road, they dug shale for road beds. That's a crumbly stone. These boulders were locked in the lining of that shale, which was mud under the Devonian Sea 400 million years ago.
That's right. Some of these rocks are 400 million years old. This one stands more than 20 feet tall and weighs 45 tons. This structure is called a dolmen, and it's made of 3 stones. 2 stand upright, and 1 lies across them, like a table. And look, this one even has some fossilized organisms inside of it. Hey, can you think of a famous collection of megaliths? How about Stonehenge in England? It's also a collection of megaliths like these. Let's go on a field trip!
Hey guys, Brittany here. I'm getting ready to rock at the Da Vinci Science Center in Allentown. Come on! What can we learn from these fossils behind us?
Well, there are a bunch of things we can learn, Brittany. So one of the things is that we can look at fossils in old rocks and fossils in young rocks, and we can look at some of the differences that happen. So over here, for example, we have a shell, and it looks not that different from a shell that you would find today on the beach.
It doesn't. It
But
looks
this
like
one is about 200 million years old. This shell is about 20 million years old, and you can see that there's some differences between them. And so that's one of the things that geologists and paleontologists would study. They would look at the differences to understand how animals have changed over time, how they evolve.
So they can look at evolution based on looking at a rock or a fossil.
Exactly, because this is a record of a living thing.
You can find fossils anywhere in the world. This rock is from Pennsylvania and is more than 250 million years old.
What you can see in this rock are a lot of fossils, but they're not fossils of animals, they're fossils of plants. And so we have ferns, and we have some branches, and we have another branch over here with some skin on the outside of it. These are things that don't live in Pennsylvania because it's too cold here. So these are plants from a tropical climate. So not only can we say something about what used to live here, but we can also say something about what the climate used to be like. It used to be warm and wet and swampy.
Right here in Pennsylvania?
Absolutely.
You can take part of the fossil record home by creating a rubbing.
We can just take a piece of paper, and we can take a pencil, and we can lay it over one of our fossils and just rub back and forth with the pencil. and the design of the fossil will come through on the paper.
That's all for me today. For Science Time, I'm Brittany Garzillo.
Why don't we visit a local school? We're going to learn all sorts of things about rocks, and we're going to look at them real closely.
Let's look at these 4 rocks: galena, calcite, olivine, and pyrite. As you look, think about their properties and the words you can use to describe them. Galena has a silver gray color and feels very heavy because it has lead in it. Calcite is smooth, shiny, and often see-through. Olivine is bumpy and appears green. People make jewelry out of it. Pyrite looks so much like gold that people used to think it was actually gold. Hey look, it's my friend, the science reporter, Rocky Rock and Roll. Let's tell him about these rocks.
I'm here at the Asa Packer Institute of Science and Rockology, where scientists are hard at work studying rocks. We're gonna come over here to this workstation first, and you! What is your name, please? Dr. Anthony. Could you please describe that interesting looking rock there? Bumpy, and what color is it?
Green.
Green, yes, very, very interesting discovery. And you! What is your name, please? Rachel. Dr. Rachel. Could you please tell me something about that interesting looking rock? What color does it look like? What does it look like? Gold! It looks like gold. Some people used to be fooled into thinking that was gold. That's why they call it fool's gold. Person used to say, gold, I'm rich, I'm rich. And everyone would say, that's not gold, you fool. Bye-bye, everybody.
You can try this at home. Here's what you need. A piece of chalk and a glass of vinegar. You ready to do it? Yes. Okay, all you need to do is drop the chalk in the vinegar. Okay. Simple. Wait for it, and there it goes. Oh my gosh. The calcite in the chalk is dissolving. How does it work? Well, minerals that contain calcite dissolve in acids, like vinegar.
Where is he? And what's this?
Legos?
Oh, I just picked up this Lego.
Whoa!
Oh, I'm sorry.
Stop staring us like that.
What are you doing down there?
I was just picking up a Lego that I dropped. How do you like it so far?
What is it?
This is an accurate replica of me.
Dr. D, that looks nothing like you.
Well, actually, this is just the beginning. You see, this is a part of my big toe, and each one of the Legos represents a cell. The yellow ones are skin cells, and the red ones are nerve cells.
Wait a minute, Dr. D. Aren't cells really, really small, like microscopic small?
Yeah, we learned about this in school. Every living thing is made up of little building blocks called cells. There are all kinds of them. Muscle cells, nerve cells, skin cells. Somebody can have 1 million cells in their body.
Actually, it's more like over 10 trillion cells in a body.
10 trillion?
10 trillion, yeah.
How are you going to get 10 trillion Legos?
I plan to order them online this afternoon. I'm really anxious to get this done. You think I can have them by tomorrow?
Dr. D, I don't think he'll ever come. Besides, how big is a person made out of 10 trillion Legos?
We can do a quick calculation here. Let's see, considering the average size of a cell and the adult human male, that comes out to about a half a mile, about twice the height of the Empire State Building.
Don't you think there'd be a problem with that, Dr. D?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to reinforce this table.
Do you have some other kind of plan?
Well, there's always a plan B.
Yeah?
How about we get a microscope and look at microscopic things, make small things look big?
That's a good plan.
That's better.
Sounds like a new science adventure.
Cells, the microscopic building blocks that make up all plants and animals. Mitosis, the process by which cells divide in plants and animals to produce more cells. Genetic code, the recipe for making a living organism. It consists of a code with 4 symbols. DNA, the long molecules that contain a string of shorter molecules, each representing one of 4 symbols of the genetic code.
Paramecia, a single-celled organism that is typically found in ponds. Cell nucleus, the control center for a cell and the container for the genetic code. Molecule, a collection of atoms that are stuck together. Chromosome, a long molecule that contains the long strand of DNA.
Hey guys, it's Brittany here. We're at the Wildlands Conservancy to uncover some creatures of our own. Come on!
Today we're uncovering rocks and looking for macroinvertebrates in the Little Lehigh Creek. Macroinvertebrates are animals without backbones. They can be seen without a microscope or magnifier.
So how do we go about finding some of these creatures?
The best way is to come to the edge of a stream, go in right on the edge or just a few feet into the water and pick up rocks. Do it gently because we're looking for creatures that live underneath the rocks and they're usually pretty tight up against, so you might not see them right away. So if you gently pick up a rock, and you can see there are some collections, they look like little huts of rocks stuck on this bigger rock. That's actually a caddisfly casing. There's an insect that lives inside there.
There's an insect inside of that?
Yes. That's where it builds its home. It takes tiny little pebbles from the riverbed and glues them together and makes their own shelter. And if we would hold this rock still for a few minutes, we would start to see it come alive and see other little critters or macroinvertebrates crawling around.
I'm looking for macroinvertebrates in the water.
So what did we find in this sample of creek water?
Well, I pulled some rocks out and I let them sit in this tray for a little while. Over in this corner, you can see crawling on the edge of the tray is a caddisfly larva. That's the macroinvertebrate that creates the little stone structures on the rocks.
I'm bringing a sample from the river back to Dr. D. Well, that's all for me today. For Science Time, I'm Brittany Garzolo.
Paramecia are so small that you need a microscope to see them. And we have some in the pond water that you brought back from your field trip.
Really?
And let's see if I can, there's one right there.
Wow.
He's not moving around very much, so that's good. That means that I could actually go up to even a higher power and see if we can see his insides in a little more detail.
He's moving a little bit, so how does he move?
Well, you see, he's got these hairs all around the outside. Can you see them there?
Right there.
They're called cilia. He moves those hairs, and that's what propels him through the water.
That's cool. How long do they live?
Well, probably about a couple days to a week, but I would say that under the microscope here, probably won't last more than 15 minutes.
Hey Josh, want to hear a joke?
Okay.
What did one cell say to his sister cell when she stepped on his toe?
What?
Mitosis!
Our alphabet is a code consisting of 26 letters. Put the letters S-N-O-W-M-A-N together and we get snowman. But just like with the recipe, splitting the word snowman into snow and man gives codes for 2 different things, neither of which represents a snowman. The genetic code uses 4 characters, only the characters are actually 4 different chemicals. Normally, we abbreviate the 4 characters by using the first letters of their chemical names, A, T, C, and G. But I'm going to call them R, G, Y, and B for the first letters of the colors red, green, yellow, and blue. When we string them together, like the words on a page, we have a chemical called DNA. A chromosome is a long chemical that contains the long strand of DNA, which contains the genetic code for an organism. One ordering makes someone who has blue eyes, another brown eyes. One makes a human being, while another makes an artichoke. DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid. DNA is a double helix. A helix because it twists like a spiral staircase.
and double because it is a pair of helices. The two strands making up the double helix are side by side. And here is the really important part. If there's an R on the left, then there will always be a G connected to it on the right. So R goes with G, like they're best buddies. And similarly, Y goes with B. This pairing makes it possible for our cells to divide and make exact duplicates. Before a cell divides, the strands come apart, and each one picks up just the right partners to make two new, identical double helices, one in each of the two new cells.
Let's go on a field trip.
Have you ever wondered how you're hardwired? I'm here at the Da Vinci Science Center in Allentown to find out.
So Jonathan, we know that in order to see our cells, we have to look through a microscope. But is there a way for us to actually see our DNA?
Well, see, the problem with DNA is it's even smaller than our cells. So even with a microscope, we can't see a strand of DNA. But luckily, there is so much of it in our body and in our cells that if we get enough of it together, we should be able to see it even without a microscope.
And so what are we doing here today?
All right, what I'm going to do is we're going to extract some DNA out of cells from your body and see whether we can see it.
Okay, I'm ready.
All right, we're going to get it from cheek cells. Cheeks are lined with skin and they shed cells into the saliva in your mouth. So this is where it gets fun and really disgusting.
Okay.
What we're going to do is put a little bit of water in our mouth, swish it around for a minute, and then spit it back into the cup.
Okay.
Ready? Now, as I said, we've got lots of things in there besides our cheek cells, so we want to clean it up a bit. What we're going to do is we're going to add some sodium chloride solution, which is just a solution of normal table salt. And then what we're going to do is put a lid on, gently mix it. That should clean up all of those cells, and now we can start getting the DNA out of them. So at the moment, the DNA is inside the nuclear membrane, which is inside the cell membrane. We've got to break those open to get it out. Okay. So membranes are made of lipids, which is another word for fats. And a chemical that's really good at breaking down fats is detergent, as you know if you ever washed up the dishes.
That's right, it is.
So let's add about 20 drops of detergent, and that should start breaking down all those membranes. So once we do this and mix it again, that DNA should come out of the cells and start floating around inside the liquid. And it's going to be dissolved in there, so we won't be able to see it yet. Now, what we're going to do is we want to actually have the DNA come out of solution. So we're going to add isopropyl alcohol very carefully so it floats on top of the water. And what's going to happen when we do that is the DNA will move up into the alcohol, but it can't dissolve in alcohol, so it will actually become a solid again, and we should be able to see it. And that clear layer is alcohol, and the cloudy layer on the bottom is our water. And now, we don't need to shake it up this time, but we should start to see little cloudy strings moving into the clear liquid, and that's our DNA.
Wow, that's amazing! That's my DNA, and that's yours.
That's the blueprint to build you.
Well, I'm taking my DNA with me. That's all for me today. For Science Time, I'm Brittany Garzillo.
I have something really exciting to show you. The tip of the root of an onion plant. The tip of the root of a plant is the part of the plant that grows the most quickly. So if we wanted to try to find a spot where there are cells that were caught in the act of producing more cells, then the tip of the root of a plant is the best place to look.
Okay.
Should we take a look? Mm-hmm. Those circles are called the cell nuclei. They contain the genetic recipe that makes the onion plant. And every one of those cells, every one of those cell nuclei contain the entire recipe for making that onion plant.
Really?
Yes, and what's even perhaps more amazing, every cell in your body contains the entire recipe for making you. A cell from the tip of your nose contains the instructions for making your big toe.
That's incredible.
It is incredible. Now, the reason that you get bigger is because you generate more cells. So cells divide so that one cell becomes two cells becomes 4, 8, 16, and so forth. What's happening is that the nuclei, which contain the recipe for making UU in the form of chromosomes, are unraveling to get ready to make the division so that the recipe is mapped into each of the 2 new cells.
You can try this at home. Here's what you need. 4 colors of beads, red, green, yellow, and blue, a pipe cleaner, and some plastic mesh. You want to give it a try?
Yes.
All right, so to start, you're going to take your pipe cleaner and you're going to fold it in half.
So like this.
Just like that. Now take both ends of the pipe cleaner and put them in 2 holes of the plastic mesh, right in the middle.
Like this?
And pull it all the way through. Now pick any color bead.
And my favorite color is yellow, so I'm picking this one.
All right, now put it on the pipe cleaner and push it all the way down.
Okay.
Good job. Now, because you picked yellow, yellow's best buddy is blue, so you need to put blue on the other end.
Okay. Like this.
Just like that. Now you want to pick another color?
Okay, let's do red.
All right.
Does it matter which side?
Nope.
So it could be any color on any side.
Any color on any side. But red's best buddy is green, and they have to stick together, so now you have to put a green on the other side.
Okay. There we go.
Now remember, you can have any pattern of colors on any side, but remember that red goes next to green,
and blue goes next to yellow.
Now go ahead and fill the whole pipe cleaner. So the final step of creating your double helix of DNA is to take the whole thing and gently twist it.
Like this.
Perfect.
And that's it.
And you've just made a model of DNA.
Now, I've got a question for you. What do you call 2 people with the same genetic code? Identical twins.
We'll see you next time on Science Time.